subscribe to my channel. Explanation and scene don't match, please understand. Guys, Throne of Seal Anime Studio again changed the episode 65 and episode 66. According to novel of Throne of Seal, the light elemental fairy choose Long Houchen. After then Long Houchen and Kia return to living room, and also all soldiers and demon hunt squad return to their place. In living room, Long Houchen and discussing the why light elemental fair choose me, they talking about that, and after that Long Houchen start fusion process mountain pass and they come for high you. Also demon god emperor has to maintain pass. Reason is that the how you is Austin Griffin. All soldiers and demon hunt squad fight with demon and mountain pass or also start again, but in thy end they are defeat thy 3 demon god. But in the episode after light elemental fairy choose Long Houchen. Light elemental fairy choose, because of Long Houchen promised to light elemental fairy she choose him, he will free light elemental fairy. Light elemental fairy choose Long Houchen, because of that Angle commander fight with Long Houchen. Long Houchen defeat Angle commander. After that Long Houchen free light elemental fairy. But light elemental fairy capture by the Angels commander. Angle fairy, who, obviously suddenly attracted, flew towards Long Houchen. A smile appeared on Long Houchen's handsome face. As he calmly lifted his right hand, that small light elemental spiritual stove immediately landed on his palm. At such a close distance, he could see the little girl even more clearly. The light elemental spiritual stove was entirely snow white, as if she was sculpted from the purest rock crystal. Her blonde hair was draped over her shoulders like a tiny waterfall, reaching down to her feet. A pair of translucent wings batted incessantly at her sides, while her long hair fluttered uncontrollably in the air. How is it possible? He's a knight, but I'm a priest. How can he have even better affinity with light than I do? His heart wasn't filled with jealousy, but with surprise. No matter how one looked at it, the final winner should be him. But that light elemental fairy didn't spare him a single glance from beginning to end, and flew almost directly to Long Houchen. Long Houchen's gentle eyes seemed to carry a tender affection. Using his fingers to caress her blonde hair, he gently told her, "Be at ease, I will honor my promise." The 19th heroic assassin revealed a faint smile, declaring, "Looks like our little fellow made her choice." This was a fair process, and the Assassin Temple doesn't wish to see any discontent behavior. All right, my duty is now done. Long Houchen, congratulations. Long Houchen raised his head and looked at the 19th heroic assassin, respectfully making his salutations. "Please pass my deepest thanks to the heroic senior, Mr. Heroic Assassin." After nodding to Long Houchen, the 19th heroic assassin immediately left in the direction of the 2 other heroic assassins, the killing intent in his eyes disappearing at the same instant. Gao Ingjie naturally aimed a glance at Long Houchen, saying with a smile, "Congratulations, Houchen. Let's leave, I'm accompanying you to your living quarters." As he said so, he intentionally glanced at the surrounding people that immediately seemed to be filled with envy. Suddenly, these envious looks were concealed completely. Although these youngsters were aware that they couldn't possibly fight over it by force, having Gao Ingjie at his side would naturally prevent any needless complications. Just as treasuring a jade ring becomes a crime, the current Long Houchen didn't dare to immediately assimilate the light elemental fairy. Sima Xian laughed quite loud. "Captain is really our captain. The thing that ought to be ours still came back to us. We have to celebrate that." Seeing Long Houchen receive the light elemental spiritual stove, the previously depressed members of the first squad suddenly had a 180 degrees change in their moods. But Long Houchen didn't say anything, leading his comrades back to their own living quarters. Following Long Houchen and the others with his eyes, Duanyi arrived at Yang Wenjiao's side, saying indifferently, "From the looks of it, the distance between him and us is just increasing each day." Yang Wenjiao replied with a sigh, "Everyone has their own opportunities, we cannot do anything about it. But we can still strive with our best efforts to make such opportunities appear to us as well." Duanyi smiled, "Well said. If you want to do something well, do it yourself. Personal strength will always be the basis of everything." Long Houchen and the others returned to their living quarters. As they went in, everyone couldn't help but rejoice in acclamation. So pleasing. Did you see the expressions on the others' faces? Especially that Luke 11 from the 4th squad, his complexion was so horrible that he looked like he was almost about to turn green with envy. Simazyan said with a belly full of laughter, paying no attention at all to the fact the light elemental fairy didn't choose him. He originally didn't have any chances, with his cultivation being still at the 4th step. After she gave Long Houchen a glance, she suddenly turned around, flying to the sky with a little swish. Quickly, she went up to the roof. When her entire body bathed in sunlight, her glowing white took on a hint of gold. Floating in mid-air, she lowered her head, staring dully at the living quarters below, her pretty and large eyes softly blinking as if pondering about something. General Headquarters of the Assassin Temple. Listening to the 19th Heroic Assassin's report, Xingyu displayed a faint smile at the corners of his mouth. It looks like this little guy understood my intention well. The 19th Heroic Assassin curiously asked, Hall Master, could it be that you knew in advance that the light elemental spiritual stove would choose Long Houchen? Xingyu nodded his head and replied, I naturally did. This was my tactic to kill 2 birds with 1 stone, displaying our goodwill in regards to these young children, while handing the spiritual stove to Long Houchen. No matter what, as her great-grandfather, I should give some presents to my own great-granddaughter. The stronger he grows, the better he will protect Kia. The 19th Heroic Assassin immediately asked, does this Long Houchen actually have such strong affinity with light? At that time, it seemed as if that light elemental spiritual stove had no hesitation at all when flying in his direction. The other youngsters were simply staring blankly, to the extent that we couldn't even carry out a real selection. Living quarters. Long Houchen received everyone's contribution points for this mission, before once again checking the total amount. This improved the mood of everyone greatly. They originally felt depressed about the fact that he released the light elemental fairy. During the mission, they killed 4 dark green dual-bladed demon, 6 8-eyed demonic eye soldiers, and a great amount of ordinary dual-bladed demons and demon eye soldiers, producing in total about 300 contribution points. This number in itself far surpassed the other team's scores. Just at that time, Kia's ears suddenly twitched, and Long Houchen unconsciously lifted his head, because a twitching sensation appeared in his body. A small chink appeared on the cloth surrounding the bed, and a white silhouette stealthily came in. Long Houchen stopped Kia, who was about to lift her hand. Don't worry, it's that light elemental fairy. That's right, it was precisely the little light elemental fairy that suddenly appeared on their bed couch. Maybe due to the sunlight she absorbed, she looked better than before. At least, she didn't look as dispirited. Gazing at Long Houchen, she floated in mid-air and rested her chin on her hands. Aside from her extremely small size, she really looked identical to humans. Feeling her familiar aura, Long Houchen smiled, lifting up his right hand and waving to her. The light elemental fairy folded her small wings, quietly falling on Long Houchen's palm. A soft white radiance continuously twinkled on her body, and Long Houchen's scorching sensation just became even more violent. How is it that you came back? Do you still feel unwell and need my help? As he asked, Long Houchen quickly let out a drip of pure light element essence. The mild golden liquid circulated to his palm, and the light elemental fairy immediately opened her eyes wide, using her small hands, without hesitation, to take some of the pure liquid light essence, and drink it in a hurry. Immediately, her pure white body was covered by a layer of gold, and her golden eyes accordingly lit up. Her originally hesitant look towards Long Houchen instantly became a pleasantly surprised one. The light elemental fairy mumbled a series of words in a language Long Houchen didn't understand, which seemed to be an elven language. Immediately, she hugged one of Long Houchen's fingers, and bit it with strength. It was a pity that the light elemental fairy's physique was weak. She was unable to pierce the skin of Long Houchen's finger, because his external spiritual energy made it too thick. The light elemental fairy immediately became impatient, hopping up and down on Long Houchen's palm, her pleasantly surprised look turning into an excited and eager one. What are you doing? Why are you biting my finger? Long Houchen asked with some curiosity. On his side, Kia also looked surprised. She's biting your finger. Could it be that she needs your blood? Why would an elemental fairy need a human's blood? It could only be for one reason, to conclude a contract with him. Long Houchen gave a surprised look to the light elemental fairy on his palm. Could it be that you want to stay by my side? The light elemental fairy nodded vigorously without hesitation. Looking at her, it seemed as though she couldn't be more willing to do just that. Just as if to her, Staying by Long Houchen's side would be greatly convenient. Now it was Long Houchen's turn to be pleasantly surprised. This golden symbol penetrated Long Houchen's chest once again, gently rising up, before stopping after reaching the space between Long Houchen's eyebrows. At this moment, the others of the first squad suddenly awoke with a start, because of the sudden burst of such strong light essence. The ones who felt it first were Sima Xian and Han Yu. Both of them being light element users as well, they immediately noticed that the dense light attribute internal spiritual energy in their bodies was gathering 2 times faster, twice as fast than normal. What's going on? Wang Yuan immediately picked up her divine soul shield. Don't move. He is okay. That light elemental spiritual stove came back again, and took the initiative to initiate a contract with him. Kia didn't fall down after being shot at, and was now standing on the ground, preventing the others from approaching the bed. At that time, everyone could only see bright light bursting out from behind the curtains, making the light essence in the whole living quarters especially plentiful. Han Yu suddenly remarked, Sima Xian, hurry up and cultivate. By relying on that dense light essence, maybe you'll break through your bottleneck. Just at that moment, Hao Yue, who had slept at the side of the room, suddenly lifted his heads. His 6 eyes glinting purple, a shapeless terrible aura burst forth from his body. The mythic mirror image treasure pig held against Chen Ying's chest slipped away from her embrace, hiding baying Chen Ying's legs. Everyone including Kia felt a terrible force, and stared completely shocked at Hao Yue. Hao Yue's terrible intent wasn't directed at them, but he roared 3 times toward the curtain in front of Long Houchen, robustly coming to his feet. Having already slept for quite a long time, as soon as he stood up, everyone could vaguely feel that Hao Yue's body grew quite bigger, but the even more distinct feature was that he seemed even more robust than before. At that moment, the purple symbols seemed to come alive. An ice-cold, terrifying and overbearing aura was continuously released from within them. Long Houchen had already come back to his senses. He would never have expected that his saint spiritual stove wouldn't obstruct, but help his fusion with the light element fairy. But his blood contract with Hao Yue, on the other hand, would actually have a strong resistance against the fusion. Therefore, the light elemental fairy didn't have the slightest hesitation, and immediately chose to fuse with Long Houchen. The golden symbol produced after the fusion was the contract mark between the two of them. To an elemental fairy, this contract mark in particular had a different meaning compared to ordinary spiritual stoves. Clearly, in his capacity of sign of light, Long Houchen would very possibly be able to absorb other spiritual stoves in the future, and maybe even another light elemental spiritual stove. For this reason, she wanted to give her contract the greatest priority possible, choosing to integrate into the cavity between Long Houchen's eyebrows. She still remembered that during the few days before Long Houchen absorbed the elemental fairy, he told her every day about duty. That everyone had different duties, and their own heavy burdens to shoulder. The only difference was that these burdens were more or less visible depending on the person. Older sister, how is it that you're not saying anything? Is it because you are wearing a veil on your face? In a 5-year-old state, Xing Lingshan kept questioning her, full of curiosity. He asked her several questions in a row, but Kia didn't show any reaction. Xing Lingshan clearly felt that she was kind of uninterested, and hurried to run to Lan Yenyu's side. Elder sister, this big sister doesn't speak at all. Take good care of him, I am leaving first. Tapping the blue cane to the ground, Caia shot out like a bullet. As she used her greatest speed to leave this place, she suddenly discovered that the hate she felt for her parents seemed to have weakened greatly. Leaving the courtyard and taking the route to return to the living quarters, Kia discovered for some reason that the oppressive feelings she had deep inside also seemed to have lessened greatly, to the extent that she felt a bit more worryless and relaxed. Except from the time she was together with Long Houchen, this was the first time this kind of emotion appeared in her ever since she became the saint daughter of Samsara. At that time, she couldn't help but remember Long Houchen's words, forgiveness is about forgiving other people, but also about forgiving yourself. At the time Kia returned to the living quarters, she wasn't aware that the expression in her eyes was gentler. However, no one in the living quarters paid attention to Kia's changes. She herself was surprised upon returning, because she felt to her astonishment that the light essence in the living quarters had just become even denser. Its level of purity astounded her greatly. At that time, everyone in the living quarters had their eyes stuck to the sunlight fire released from Long Houchen's body. And compared to before Kia left, the great difference was that the sunlight fire on Long Houchen's body had now surprisingly taken shape, unexpectedly condensing into flames that gave off a faintly visible appearance of angel. What happened? Kia asked Gao Ingjie with some nervosity. Gao Ingjie replied with a rough voice, if I haven't guessed wrongly, the light elemental fairy that fused with Houchen should be undergoing a process of evolution. He was right, the light elemental fairy was indeed evolving. At the time the light elemental fairy fused with Long Houchen, she felt Long Houchen's physique as sign of light, and released all her physical and mental capabilities, planning to fuse completely into Long Houchen's body. Although she was frightened for a brief moment by Hao Yue, this couldn't affect the light elemental fairy's feelings of acknowledgement for Long Houchen. Just like a light unicorn had by nature kind-hearted traits, a sign of light was bound to have an easy-to-get-close to nature and a heart of gold. This made the light elemental fairy throw away all her worries. This implied that Long Houchen's light elemental fairy started her second evolution. This was the sign of light, the formidable sign of light. And this holy fire persisted until the 49th day. Seated cross-legged, Long Houchen suddenly showed signs of opening his eyes. He opened his mouth, and suddenly, the holy fire surrounding him was inhaled into his body, consequently weakening the light aura in the living quarters. The abrupt change immediately awoke everyone from their state of cultivation. They are staring at the same time at Long Houchen. Along with the continuous weakening of the holy fire, Long Houchen's body gradually became visible. At this very moment, with a bright spark of light from his chest, a 1/3 of a meter-long golden radiance appeared in front of him, and with a sharp and clear incantation, the bright light covered Long Houchen's body, forming a golden armor, solving the awkward situation of Long Houchen's burnt clothes. And from his chest, the perfectly fused light elemental fairy appeared. Ji Jin said with a smile, I would like to introduce these 3 elders coming from the heroic hall of the Assassin Temple to everyone. Assassins from the heroic hall. Hearing Ji Jing's introduction, these youths from the newly formed demon hunt squads felt startled. The heroic hall was the most mysterious place of the Assassin Temple, comprising a total of 36 heroic assassins. Each of these heroic assassins was an existence belonging to the 8th step, forming the most powerful part of the Assassin Temple. The auxiliary hall master Ying Suifeng that Long Houchen met previously was exactly the leader of these heroic assassins. So these 3 are actually powerhouses of the 8th step. Then for what purpose did they come? Just at that time, the black-clad man who stood in the front took a few steps forward. But no extraordinary aura was emanating from his body, nor any sign of life, it just gave people a faint sensation of emptiness. But everyone knew that these people were the real assassin powerhouses, able to blend into any kind of environment. First of all, we would like to express our gratitude for everything you did for the Exorcist Mountain Pass. Captain of the 1st Soldier Grade Demon Hunt Squad, please step forward. Long Houchen took 2 steps forward, making a fist with his left hand and placing it on his left chest. Then, he replied with a loud, Long Houchen, Captain of the 1st Soldier Grade Demon Hunt Squad reports. This 19th heroic assassin seemed quite easygoing. With a humble smile on his face, he said to him, no need be so formal. You should recognize the case in Ji Jin's hands, right? Long Houchen nodded and replied, yes, I do. This is the one we seized from the enemy's hands, as we carried out yesterday's mission. The 19th heroic knight faintly nodded back, that's right. You did well, and in recognition of your exceptional behavior of handing this object to us, the Assassin Temple decided to reward you with 500 contribution points. Please come to accept them, 500 contribution points. Hearing this number almost caused an uproar. In fact, the weakest of the 10 newly formed demon hunt squads didn't even gather 500 points in total, and this included the 200 contribution points they all got as this mission's reward. The fact that the Assassin Temple took such an initiative, unexpectedly rewarding the 1st Soldier Grade Demon Hunt Squad with 500 contribution points, immediately made the other demon hunt squads restless. Against all expectations, it was a spiritual stove, and a light elemental spiritual stove at that. Each and every one of them had a lifeless look in their eyes, looking at that light elemental fairy's struggling attempt to fly, completely filled with regret. Even Gao Ingjie immediately felt the same as them. If they knew earlier that this case contained a light elemental fairy, no matter how Long Houchen opposed it, they would absolutely not have consented to hand it over to the higher-ups. Let alone 500 contribution points. Even if it were 5,000 or 50,000 of them, it wouldn't be worth a light elemental spiritual stove. But spiritual stoves couldn't be given a value, because in the right hands, they possessed unlimited potential. At least within the first demon hunt squad, Long Houchen, Han Yu and Sima Xian were all able to use this kind of spiritual stove, making it extremely fitting for them. Long Houchen's perception was different from other people's. When Kia saw Xing Lingxin, who had recovered a little more than 20 years of his memories, he was unexpectedly crouched down, and was crying bitterly, even losing his voice from it. But from his mouth, she was only able to hear a single word, and that was her name. Sima Xian murmured, "It's 3162, the 6th rank of the 5th step. Captain, you are already a 6th ranked Earth Knight." Let alone the others, Long Houchen was also astonished. He honestly didn't expect that, with his fusion with Yating, he would actually directly gain more than 1,000 units of spiritual energy. With such a boost, his cultivation level became the highest among all of his team members. Just like Sima Xian said, Long Houchen's improvements were massive. But this was closely related to his special physique, as the Sign of Light. His fusion with Yating produced 3 enormous bursts of pure light essence. Over the course of 40 days of the fusion, Long Houchen's body as the Sign of Light had been completely aroused. And he didn't know that every time Yating evolved, his own innate internal energy would increase by a level. Thus, Long Houchen's innate internal spiritual energy had reached 99, which was only second to Kia's score of 100. Wang Yuan progressed from 2160 to 2210, Lin Xin's internal spiritual energy only increased by 20, reaching 2405. As for Kia, her progress was not small. As the saint daughter of Samsara, her innate internal spiritual energy being 100, her cultivation speed was by nature not comparable to anyone else. After 2 months' time, her internal spiritual energy increased by 180, making it reach 2770, only second to Long Houchen's 3162. So far, Long Houchen's cultivation speed was already the best of the team. Although this time's increase was directly linked to his luck, his status within the team rose once again. More importantly, after possessing the light elemental fairy Yating, his future progress speed would increase to some extent. Having entered the 6th rank of the 5th step, Long Houchen's understanding about the internal spiritual energy was even greater. As everyone received the pills Lin Xin made, her look becoming passionate upon looking at him, Wang Yuan couldn't help but declare, "Lin Xin, you are really a genius." As time passed, Lin Xin's utility as an alchemist increased unceasingly. "Yinga, this is for you." Lin Xin threw a little cloth bag to Chen Yinga. Chen Yinga caught it, showing a puzzled reaction. "What is it? Are there pills inside?" Lin Xin shook his head, replying, "Foolish girl, these are magical crystals. If your pig doesn't have them, how will he have fighting strength? I purchased them at the auction house. One at the 6th step, and the dozen of others are coming from magical beasts at the 5th step. Conserve them well, these things were just so expensive. Half of the money I made was used for these, and the rest to purchase material." "Whoa, thank you, big brother Lin." Chen Yinga blinked her limpid eyes at Lin Xin, looking at him with soft eyes. At the same time great changes appeared on Xing Yu's face. Behind those 3 shining demon god pillars, a dark golden brilliance was immediately lit brightly. This dark golden brilliance was just too massive, forming a thick light extending over a diameter of more than 5 kilometers. The instant it appeared, the bright sky became dark, the sun disappearing without traces as if shot down. The 100,000 roaring demons felt as if their neck was suddenly cut off, and no sound was left. This scene of noise transforming instantly into silence appeared extremely bizarre. Although the demon soldiers didn't yell any longer, their eyes were filled with an identical blood color. From the smallest dual-bladed demons to the biggest black dragons, all of them without exception emitted an extremely frightening aura. Along with the ascending of that bright pillar, they entered a sort of bloodthirsty state. In front of that enormous dark golden pillar, the group of 3 gods led by the blazing lion Alossa seemed like an unremarkable gust of wind. Those 3 kneeled respectfully, facing the enormous dark golden pillar while disregarding the humans. What is that? Too astonishing. This course of events was just too sudden and terrible. The most splendid scenes Long Houchen ever saw were the ones of his father, as well as the Chief the Alliance Yang Haohan releasing their divine thrones. But compared to the terrible dark golden pillar of light, they were just far too inferior. That dark golden pillar of light quickly covered the whole sky, turning everything around it into darkness. Only the dark golden radiance emitted forward still provided some brightness to this world, and thus, the changes on this dark golden pillar looked all the more distinct. No one could see exactly how enormous that massive dragon's body was. The terrifying pressure it released even caused the sky to sink, twisting unstoppably. What kind of existence is that? Suddenly, bolts after bolts of azure lightning surrounded the dark golden pillar of light, glittering without interruption, and the massive dragon crawling on it started to move rhythmically. Even more spectacular was that the army of 100,000s was immediately immersed into the twisted patterns, unexpectedly disappearing from their line of sight. No, more accurately, they should have become invisible. The heroic assassin Xing Yu's face was already completely pale. The fact that his aura alone could make the entire main demon forces invisible, and this enormous dark golden pillar of light confirmed one thing. The thing they were the most unwilling to see. It's him. It's really him. The first ranked of the 72 demon gods and demon emperor, the devil dragon emperor Fengxiu. He went as far as to come here personally. As they heard Xing Yu's words, all the officers on the city gate tower became overwhelmed with shock. Xing Lingxin's entire body swayed, and although he gritted his teeth, trying to contain his emotions, his two forcefully clenched hands were trembling. The first demon god and demon emperor, the demonic dragon emperor. This title would always belong to a single demon, the ruler of the 72 demon gods, as well as the most powerful existence of the entire demon army. The main reason why, in Xingmo, humans were always in a vulnerable position was his existence. He was the one that couldn't be defeated, the unequaled representative of supremacy within the demons. From the very first generation of demon god emperors till now, this was the sixth demon god emperor. In his capacity of supreme leader of the demons, he could live for more than 1,000 years. In the human history, except from the time when the sign of samsara appeared, causing the demon emperor's death, the other 5 demon god emperors, without exception, lived until dying of natural death, giving this position to someone of their later generation. And even the demon god emperor, who died from the heavy wounds caused by the sign of samsara died, because he was excessively old and had already passed the pinnacle of his life. The 3 words demon god emperor were in Xingmo an unequaled symbol of oppression. He was the ruler of the demons, an emblem of all the demons. So long as he would exist, humans would never dare to think of launching a counteroffensive. At the present time, this 6th demon god emperor was already aged and more than 700 years old, entering the most powerful period of his life. Who would have expected him to appear today, in front of the Exorcist Mountain Pass? Even the powerhouse of the 9th step, Xing Yu, was the same. At Long Haochen's side, Qia's body was trembling violently, a faintly discernible killing intent unceasingly emanated from her body. Long Haochen was greatly alarmed, immediately thinking of the reason for it. It was surely that the demon god emperor's aura had stimulated the dagger of samsara in her body. If the demon god emperor discovered the existence of the dagger of samsara, Qia would never be able to contend against him. The Exorcist Mountain Pass is graced with your esteemed presence, demon god emperor. This is truly an honor for our city. After Xing Yu took a single step across the wall, he was unexpectedly already in midair. In spite of the fear completely infesting his heart, he did so, because the only one capable of facing the demon god emperor in the entire Exorcist Mountain Pass was him. At the demon god emperor's back, the terrible light pillar reaching 5 kilometers in diameter glinted. The gigantic black dragon sculpture, on it was his figure seen from behind. You are the current chief of the Assassin Temple. Fengxiu's voice was as pleasant as before, without the slightest aggressivity. That is right, this elder's name is Xing Yu. At Xing Yu's back, an enormous grey dagger glistened, sharp aura bursting forth from it, stopping the aura released by the demon god emperor in their direction. But all the people sideways from him could see that the aura bursting forth from Xing Yu only spread to an area of 10 meters. This was how clear the gap between the demon god emperor and him was. You heard my dignified words. As for the matter of eliminating you humans, or not, I am not in a hurry. From my dignified point of view, you are nothing more but livestock I raise. Everything will be done as I said before. If I find the thing I am looking for, I will consider letting your exorcist city off. Xing Yu's eyes were filled with an unsettled expression. He was fully aware of how wide the gap existing between the demon god emperor and himself was, but under such circumstances, could they really come to a compromise? At the city walls, at least dozens of looks were focused on Long Houchen. Three-headed creature. Could it be that he is speaking of Long Houchen's mount? But it's only a magical beast of the sixth step. How could it gain the attention of an existence such as the demon god emperor? The demon god emperor displayed a wicked smile. This dignified emperor will give you a time of 10 seconds. If 10 seconds later, I don't have a reply, today will be the last day of your exorcist mountain pass. Suddenly Xing Yu was drenched in sweat. He knew that if he fulfilled these terms, he would never be able to stand straight in the Temple Alliance ever again. But if he didn't, the 100,000s of military and civilians, as well as the foundation of the Assassin Temple, would very possibly be wiped out completely. Seeing them appear, the demon god emperor stopped in his counting game, his face appearing quite sinister. It looks like you, old guys, are still alive. Do you really believe this emperor won't dare kill you? The demon god emperor declared coldly. In front of him, the aged voice kept speaking, being the first powerhouse under heaven, His Majesty will naturally dare. Why would he not? Only, in terms of age, we are far inferior to His Majesty. The words, old guys, are unacceptable. At that time, the six silhouettes had already ascended above the city walls, and the earth-shattering oppressive power was immediately blocked. At the knight's side was a warrior even exceeding him in grandeur. Clad in a blue-violet armor also covering his whole body, he was exceeding 2.2 meters in height, his both shoulders being extremely broad. Even if he was partly hidden by his armor, he could still make anyone feel that his strength was terrifying enough to tear heaven and earth. The weapon in his left hand was an unusual bloody red axe, while the one in his right hand was an enormous blue-violet axe. If someone was to describe the impression this appearance gave him, the word intrepid would be the most suitable. On the other side of the knight was an erratic black-colored silhouette, whose shape could not be seen clearly at all. But it gave a especially sinister and sharp impression. The air surrounding his radiance was continuously being filled with black cracks. These six were arranged in a double-road formation, composed of 3 of them in the front and the other 3 in the rear. To one's surprise, the 3 people in the rear were all women, which could be recognized from the clothes they wore, though they were clad in magical cloaks, making their appearance indistinct. The woman in the middle, clad in a pure white gown, wore the design of a 2-winged golden angel on the back of her gown. A gown of prodige, the saint robe, was the symbol of the most supreme priests. The current Supreme Pontiff was attired in this way, and compared to this woman, the Supreme Pontiff could only be said to have a royal crown in addition and nothing more. The 6 human powerhouses became silent. A faint golden radiance spread around the knight's body, enveloping the 6 of them in it as if they were planning on discussing the situation among themselves. A short time later, the knight acting as their head replied to him, "Okay, please search for it, Your Majesty. We won't block you no matter what." They didn't know what the demon god emperor was looking for, but if the Exorcist Mountain Pass really had this thing he was looking for, it wouldn't be too late to decide whether to hand it over to him or not. Conversely, if the demon god emperor didn't find anything, the danger confronting them would naturally be settled without a fight. No other humans understood the demon god emperor better than them. This demon emperor attached at least some importance to his reputation. He would never bear to let his dignity be offended. The demon god emperor snorted coldly, and a moment later, the black in the skies spread again. The whole sky above the Exorcist Mountain turned black, and shapeless fluctuations of mental force arose abruptly, covering each corner of the Exorcist Mountain Pass, like gusts of rain. Long Houchen immediately felt as if he had been enveloped in a boundless ocean, as if that massive mental force was breaking him open. In the middle of this huge and boundless energy, he felt as if he was disappearing. And everyone else felt similarly as Long Houchen, their faces turning pale. This was the frightening level the strength of his mental energy reached. Suddenly, Long Houchen felt his entire body lighting up, and immediately, his 3,000 units of internal energy flowed out madly, following a strange orbit. On his forehead, a trace of light appeared vaguely. It was not a purple one, but rather a golden one. The attention of the people around was focused on the demon god emperor, and the 6 humans, so naturally, no one paid attention to this change on Long Houchen's body. But Long Houchen's face changed greatly. He could feel that it was precisely Hao Yue who was borrowing his force. Thinking of the fact the demon god emperor was looking for a three-headed magical beast, Long Haochen felt secretly overwhelmed with horror. Could it be that this demon ruler is really looking for Hao Yue? Living quarters. At some point, Hao Yue had opened his 6 eyes, his aura restrained to the limit. Little Flames and Little Green's 2 heads were still lying down, while Little Light had lifted his head. His eyes glimmered with golden color. If someone was looking carefully at this scene, he would notice that the holy aura surrounding him was exactly the same as Long Haochen's. Not only that, but the scales on Hao Yue's body were covered with golden light, just as if his whole body changed color. If Long Haochen was there, he would surely guess that the current Hao Yue was borrowing the light energy coming from inside of Long Haochen's body to mask his own aura. He was in fact an existence coming from another world, and at the time he crossed over, he passed through a baptism with the holy aura contained in Long Haochen's blood, therefore, the blood of the sign of light had already become a part of him. And just now, he was cleverly using this part of his blood vessels to arouse this power, temporarily making it his own to mask his own aura completely. The demon god emperor was still quietly flying in mid-air, and gradually, his eyes flashed in different colors, sweeping over the direction of the exorcist city. Half an hour already passed, and for both the human and the demon side, this half hour was far from being a time of pleasure. One side was ready to attack at any time, while the other one was prepared for the start of a bloody battle. They were just waiting calmly for the result to appear. The demon god emperor suddenly revealed a brazen smile. Actually, I don't really want you to die. In this world, if we don't have a worthy enemy, wouldn't life be dull? This emperor might tell you that as well, but in fact, you have only 5% odds to take me down by yourselves. This is because, among demon god emperors, this emperor is the 3rd one to have broken through the 1 millionth spiritual energy level, and the youngest one to have reached this level. Is the realm of the 1 millionth level something you are possibly able to contend against? Then, farewell. The demon god emperor revealed a tranquil smile, his demonic smile staying in everyone's minds. Next, the black gown-clad emperor suddenly turned around and left, disappearing in this dark golden brilliance. These 6 were clearly led by the knight, who gave him an indifferent reply, no need. We still have to follow the demon god emperor's movements, so as to ensure he doesn't use some tricks. I heard that the newly formed demon hunt squads train in the exorcist city right now. Yes. Xing Yu hurried to reply. He was a powerhouse of the 9th step as well, but he still acted extremely respectfully towards those almighty people.